Right. Let's see what we're gonna do. A equals 17. Should B equals 18. Should C equals 28. Should. Oh, goodness. So, we have all this information, which is super exciting. And with this information, we want to figure out what angle A is. So it says use law of cosines. We have kind of three options. We choose the one that has angle A in it. So that's this formula. Okay, so usually I'm not hiding the formulas from you. I'll kind of give them to you if I'm with you, or you have them written down somewhere, or we can just remind you. Oh, excuse me for one moment. Thank you. He's not. He is not. Yeah, I haven't seen him. Yeah, I haven't seen him. All right, thanks. Bye. All right, let's plug in. So remember, like we have a little mini quiz next week. Just do something, please. Just don't leave stuff blank. That'd be good. Even if you could just throw in the numbers, that's going to give you some points. That's always better than nothing. And we know everyone in here is like in pretty good shape grade-wise. So just, I know it's hard to stay motivated. But at this point, once again, just do something and we'll be good. You guys are good. So we have this and we said, well, that's kind of a pain because we need that A and it's at the end of that long equation, or that's kind of annoying. So we just need to make sure we know how to kind of move things around. So at this point, what I do is I make sure I remind myself, this is all connected with multiplication. So those are all kind of stuck together. So I always do that just to remind myself. I'll have to deal with that in a second. I'm going to grab my calculator though, because I do want to move these two numbers. We just call those constants. They're just kind of chilling there by themselves. So I want to take these and move them to the other side of the equation to start to rearrange. So since they're positive, I'm going to subtract them. I kind of just do it as one step because I just hate rewriting a million times. So I'll subtract both of them over here. And then I just grab my calculator and say, well, what is that? Oh, I have no clue. So 17 squared minus 15 squared minus 28 squared. And it comes out to negative 720. And you can see if you look at any problems from yesterday, they look exactly the same, just some numbers change. And I go to the right side and I say, well, what's left? Okay, so we canceled that stuff out. We basically have left what's kind of I boxed in here. So instead of, once again, me having to rewrite it a million times, I'm just going to remind myself that's all multiplication. So I'm going to multiply those things together. Just don't forget about that negative in front of the 2. So I do negative 2 times 15 times 28. Oops, I hit the wrong button. That's going to give me negative 840 cosine A. Okay, so without, most of the work's in the calculator, but without too much effort, we've kind of made it a lot nicer looking. And then we're going to divide by negative 840 because, once again, trying to get that A by itself. I'm going to actually divide those and see what it comes out to. Negative 720 divided by negative 840. It comes out to 0.857. Remember, that's not my final answer. The reason is because cosine A equals that. I just want A. And anytime I want to find just an angle, I'm going to do an inverse. So I'm going to do an inverse cosine of 0.857. And that, my friends, will give me my final answer. And my final answer comes out to be 31 degrees. So that one obviously has a little bit more rearranging than the ones we were doing kind of in the past where you're just kind of plugging in and we're done. But you're doing the same steps every time. So they all look very similar, just with some different numbers. So I'm going to leave that one up for a minute. I know with a few more steps, you just want to get caught up. especially if you're tired. I feel ya. Ooh. And then we only have 2 more problems. So we're a third of the way done with what we need to do today, which is delightful. I'm just trying to look at the future, and then I'll do the area. Okay, my friends. So let's try kind of one more like that, and then we just have one more. We're gonna solve for everything, but it's all stuff we know how to do. I'm just trying to bring everything together. And then that will do it. So in that case, we were solving for angle A. We could really solve for any angle if we have all 3 sides. So it's just always looking at what the directions are. Because depending on what you want to solve for, you're going to just use one of those different versions of the law of cosines. So, all over. On this next one, I'm going to change it. Let's solve for angle C. And let me see what I got. A is 14. Try not to use like annoying decimals. B is 16. And C is 10. All right, let's kind of do one more. We'll just see how we're feeling. Because we just started seeing this yesterday. So first angle C. So I'm going to choose the version that has angle C in it. A squared plus B squared minus 2AB times cosine C. I'm not trying to trick you. There's the equation. So right now, can everyone plug your numbers into that equation? We'll kind of do it step by step with you trying each step. It'll be kind of fill it in. So if I gave you those letters, could you plug those numbers? Could you plug those numbers in where you see the variable? So I'm going to kind of do mine. That should be an easier step because we're just kind of throwing stuff in. 10 squared equals 14 squared plus 16 squared minus 2 times 14 times 16 times cosine of C. At this point, I still do this every time. So I've been teaching trig a while. I just need to like organize my brain sometimes. So I just remind myself those are stuck together with multiplication. So right now, can everyone subtract those 2 constants in front to the other side and see what you get? I'm just going to kind of pause between each step. Just if you'd like to cry it, go for it. If you're just going to sit and stare at a wall, happy for you too. Just make sure you write it down once we do it. Oh. So I'm going to move these, 14 squared minus 16 squared, over here. What are we at? 10 squared minus 14, negative 352 equals. I'm going to simplify that side just so I don't need to rewrite it again. That comes out to negative 448. Once again, I just plug in negative 2 times 14 times 16. Yeah. And then we're following the same steps we just did. I'm going to divide. Main goal just being, I just want to get that C by itself, so I'm just trying to move everything. Oh, that equals 0.786-ish. Cosine C. And then to find C, we're going to do the inverse cosine. And C comes out to be 38.2. I'm just going to say 38. I like rounding to nice whole numbers today. And that is your answer. So make sure you can follow those steps, which look exactly like the steps from the first one, which look exactly like the steps from yesterday. So if you have a good example, you should be in good shape. Oh, guys, we're already 67% of the way done. And we only have one more problem. Because it's Friday. And we're tired. Life. So let's get this last one done. Ooh, excuse me. So the last one, I'm gonna say solve the triangle. So I'll do it with you. I'm not gonna have you do it on your own, but just as a reminder, when I say solve the triangle, we're gonna solve for everything, all sides, all angles. We're gonna start by using law of cosines. But the nice thing when you're solving, once you kind of do the first step, you can then, if you wanna mix in law of sines, you can. So it's just kind of a preference thing. Some people like to go back and use law of sines once you have some more information. Some people just like to stick with law of cosines. You'll get the same answer, so it's just a preference. So I'm going to say solve the triangle. This is our last problem. All right. So when I say solve the triangle, I have all the sides, so I'm good side-wise. I'm all set. But I need to find all the angles. I need to find A, B, and C. So just pick one. So I'll find A first. It doesn't really matter. Just you could really pick any version of the law of cosines that you want in, and plug into that. So we have to use law of cosines because with law of sines, you would need an angle. We don't have one, so law of cosines it is. So we're used to this because we've just done this step now 3 times. So let's throw it in. The more you repeat it, the easier it gets. Just because by the end, you're like, please stop. We've done this 1,000 times. But that's the main goal. The more you do it, hopefully the more familiar it looks to you. So we're doing the same thing. I like to kind of remind myself this is all connected with multiplication. And then I want to get rid of these 2 numbers first because they're just, we call those constants. They're just kind of on their own. So you can add or subtract them. All right, so I'm going to grab my calculator, start to set myself up here. 29 squared minus 21 squared minus 11 squared gives me 279. Then I kind of simplify over here just so I don't need to rewrite it. Negative 2 times 21 times 11 is negative 462 cosine A. So from here, we're just going to do what we've been doing. We're going to divide. I'm going to actually divide that out and see what I get. Negative 0.604-ish. And then to find A, we're going to do the inverse cosine. You're probably like, I know, because we've done this 1,000 times, but that's the point. You do it more, the easier it gets. And you got about 127 degrees. Ooh, big angle. So we're a third of the way done, because remember, we need to find everything. So now you have 2 options, so I don't really care which one you want to do. I'm going to do law of sines just as a kind of reminder of what law of sines is, because it's been a while since we've seen it. So your other option is you could do this again. I kind of find like that's annoying. I don't want to do it a million times if I don't have to. So what you could do is you could pick just a different version and find either B or C. Or what you could do, since now you have side A and angle A, I'm just going to go back for my second step and use law of sines. Because you can kind of mix and match these depending on what information you have and what's going to be easier. Because now if I can do A over sine A, let's say equals B over sine B, I can find another angle that way. Or once again, you can go back and kind of do those same steps we just did. I always find like that's just annoying, so I try not to do that if I don't have to. Because we're comfortable with law of sines. 29 over sine 127, so that was A over sine A, equals 21 over sine B. This is a good little review from last week. We cross multiply. Cross that way. We divide. And we grab our calculator, right? 99% of what we do is just kind of the setup, and then the actual computation, we leave that to the technology to do. So when I throw that in my calculator, what do I get? Sorry, I'm making sure I plugged it in right. 21 times sine 127 divided by 29 equals 0.578. And then to find B, I'm going to do the inverse sine of that. And that will give me B, which is like 35. I'm just going to round. So once again, you can do it that way. If you wanted to, you could come back and do it this way. Just use a different version. So use a version with angle B maybe. So it's just a preference thing. And then the nice thing is once you have two angles, you can find the third angle pretty easily just by subtracting the 2 from 180. So I can do 180 minus 127 minus 35. And that, my friends, will solve my triangle, which is 18 degrees. So I know the solving ones are annoying because you have more work. So I would never give you a ton of those. But I just wanted to show you on that one. You have to use law of cosines for the first step, but when you get to the second step, you can kind of decide. So law and sines and law and cosines, if you're solving for the same things, it really just depends on the information that you have. So if you have the info to use law of sines, feel free. Just give me a second, sorry. I will let you know in 1 minute. Every day I come to school and I'm like, today I'm going to be healthy. And like literally this week, someone brought in donuts, and then someone brought in cupcakes. And then I like have to like eat. There's a cupcake just sitting in front of you at lunch, like you cannot eat it. And I just had an email, someone brought in cookies. So I was just planning like, no, because today is not going to be my healthy day either. Restart Monday.
Yeah.
After my Pupginas tonight, yeah.